Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Plan in Traffic. And we do this every Thursday night live. So if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you're seeing it live. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know how it goes. And we have our special guest, Dave. Dave is from Hot Rod Innovations, and he's one of our sponsors of the show. We love him. We keep him in our mind all the time. How's it going, Dave?
It's going good. Ray's killing me, but it's going good.
I find Hot Rod Innovations like seeping through my skin and bone. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I don't know
either.
Yeah,
I love it.
Hey, so Dave, tell everybody where they can find you, like your websites and where they can find you if they want to go look at your products.
So the website is hotrodinnovations.cool.
Right.
Not .com, .cool. You can check all of our stuff out there. You can also look up all of our stuff, Summit Racing. If you just hit on the search bar, Hot Rod Innovations, our full product line will come up. And then all of our truck front end stuff is, obviously available on our website through Summit or LMC Truck.
Nice. And I remember when we spoke to you about that, how you were just breaking the deal with Summit and LMC, and that was some big monumental achievement for you guys. We were so happy to hear that happen for you.
Yeah. Oh, he stopped here when he was doing his big meeting too. So we went to dinner.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah. When I went out to Ohio, man, that was 3 years ago. And
a while ago, yeah.
And finished everything with Summit and got to take the 10-cent tour of the facility there, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
I noticed, I just got the Summit catalog. I got their regular catalog and their tool catalog, and I see they took on a lot of extra stuff that they hadn't had before, which I think is good because, like we all shop in different ways and we use different products, and they're giving the customer a lot more availability now, which I think is great.
Yeah,
they carry like everything at this point. I mean, restoration sheet metal, hardcore off-road stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy what they have now.
Well, I've been getting a lot of stuff for my bus from there too. They're doing their own brands of a lot of things as well. Like they have their own brand of paint. So I have all the Summit paint and primer and everything. Yeah, it's one.
You mentioned that, Lewis. I was just talking to Tori this week about these. I hate to bring it up every week, but these AN fittings, and he told me that a lot of times what they use on Sam's Garage, the Summit fittings, they're not. I mean, Summit doesn't make them. So he thought they might even be Earl's fittings that they're just rebranding as Summit, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it might be.
I would imagine they probably are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everything Summit does that's private label, that's Summit label. I mean, somebody's
producing
another big person in the industry is making it for them, just like Costco. Right. Any of the Kirkland brand stuff is
exactly. I tell it to people all the time, like, you don't think that they have a coffee mill out back where they're actually, they got a coffee field and then, and they don't have a battery plant where they're making batteries. And I will say this, as far as you mentioned Costco, from the stuff I've had experience with and the things other people have experience with, it's some of the best stuff out there. I mean, very positive experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
Which makes sense. If you're going to put your name on something, you're not going to put it on junk.
That's correct.
Here's another thing with Summit. When I was at PRI, we went to lunch with some of the guys from there, and they really know their stuff. It's not like they just hire a whole bunch of people to fill orders and stuff. These guys really know their products.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they do. And I met so many people. I couldn't tell you one name. You walk through, you meet 100 people. But man, I'll tell you, that whole facility in Ohio, which obviously was the original facility there, that place is massive. And just walking through the office portion of it to meet, the 10 different people that I dealt with going through all the steps, the part that I thought was probably the coolest is the place is so big that it has street names. It's a sea of cubicles. So it's, Corvette Lane, and then you're going to hang a left on Nova Alley. And then it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, man, this would be a cool place to work. And that was one of the things they told me too, is like all the tech people and stuff, they're Those are actual car people.
Yep.
You know, from all different backgrounds, obviously, but you know, really cool. Summit, well, that's why they're the biggest in the business. You know, they're so easy to deal with. You're almost always going to get the right thing. I mean, mistakes happen, whatever, everyone's human. The return policy is, you know, kick ass. They're the best. And and there's a reason for it. And it's, you know, they've earned it.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I watched them grow, man. They started out in a small garage, man, and they, over the years, I want to say it was, I can't even tell you. I was a teenager when they really started popping.
So that means there's hope for us, Lewis.
Yeah, we might make it one day.
we might time out first. So let me ask you this, Dave. What do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot with this, but you know, the other big competitor they have is Jegs, which a lot of people use. I've used them myself. Just as a gross example, you know, a gross reference, where would you put the two? How far behind one from the other in the field? Do you have any idea? I mean, you may not even know, really.
To be honest, I mean, I don't know. My guess would be Jegs is a fairly distant second as far as how much product they move, and I mean that's
it seems like Summit, like you said, they really upped their game and they've made a forward push. I mean, I see it. You look through that catalog and it's evident. You know, it's evident, and it's all quality stuff. Even the tools, you know, they're carrying some great tool brands on there.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I would have thought. I would have thought the same thing, but you know, not having data to go by, you can only guess.
Right. Summit has obviously put a ton of effort and with that a ton of money into being the industry leader. And like you said, tools, and you know, it's always been muscle car, hot roddy stuff, but now it's restoration parts and you know, the off-road stuff, and it's not just, you know, the big tires or, you know, a lift kit, but I mean like the really hardcore, like super duty rod ends for like the rock crawler guys. And I mean, it's, you know, like stuff that I would have considered much more like small niche or like real specialty stuff.
Right.
But I wouldn't have thought there would be a big enough market for them to hop in on it. But obviously there is. And I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, a gearhead is a gearhead.
They're doing camping stuff too, RV stuff.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I got a big list for the bus for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from a business perspective, it makes sense. The bigger you are, the more chances you can take on a smaller niche, because it's not going to mean as much to your bottom end. You can take those chances.
Yep.
Where a smaller company has to hinge on every product. So
yeah,
good for them. American company, good for them. Yeah,
and I mean, everybody that I deal with there, and I deal with them basically daily at this point, but certainly going through the process of, you know, getting onboarded with them, they were like I've dealt with Summit for 30 years, you know, on a like for personal stuff, and you know, because they're great. They're just as cool and easy to deal with on the other side, you know what I mean? Like as far as the vendor side of things, right. Barry Flesher, who is the guy that like brought me in, basically, he's I don't know his exact title at this point, but like we'll call him the head street rod. Like he runs the entire, you know, hot rod, street rod department there. And that's who I dealt with in the beginning. This guy is like 4 aces, man. Like the coolest cat ever. All there's a couple different gals that I deal with on the PO side that I deal with all the time. They're just the coolest people. Like that was one of the things I was really nervous about, because, you know, we're a family owned deal. You know, I'm not Edelbrock or Holly or whatever. So I was really, you know, I don't, scared sounds terrible, but you know, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah,
because Summit is, well, they're worldwide. I mean, they're huge.
Right.
So I was really concerned about sort of getting not run over, but
pushed around.
Kind of, you know what I mean? Like, because like I said, I'm not some major, I don't have a 1,000,000 square foot manufacturing facility and whatever. And they were just like, no, we get it. You're good. Don't sweat it. You make cool parts, and that's all that matters.
That's great. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was cool. And they like, there was a lot of hand holding in the beginning, with me, because, that was my first major retailer.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that before. You know what I mean? So they were like super patient and like, all right, well, you got to, do this and that, and teaching me how to use the, I'm not the most computerish guy, but, just with like the software, the website stuff that I deal with them for the orders and all the stuff I have to input, to let them know it's going out the door and blah, blah, blah. And they were just super cool about it. There was like, they never made me feel dumb or, because I'm very insignificant in their big picture.
And that is a sign of a true professional,
Yeah. It was very, very cool. So,
yeah.
And, I think that leads back to being car people, because car people are, the car community is like that.
Yep. And then, so they have at their facility there, another cool thing that I thought was pretty neat. They have this huge, like, restaurant quality and size kitchen, like super bad to the bone, right? Like industrial kitchen. And every Thursday, all of the, upper managerial people there cook for the entire company.
Wow.
Like make lunch, like full on, like real deal, pull out all the stops, kick ass lunch.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, they have, most of the employees there have been there like way long term.
Right.
So, which says a lot about a company, because, in today's world, everyone's just a number. You're just a barcode or, whatever. And man, all the employees that I talk to, they're like, this place is like, this is where it's at. Like it's obviously humongous, but they still treat their employees like, like they're running it like a small business. I mean? They know everyone's name. They know everyone's kids. It's pretty cool,
right?
To something on that big of a scale, and it's still personal to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was just super impressive.
Yep. Okay, so let's get on your company.
All right.
What? Well, first explain your main product.
Okay, so we started with a throttle return spring kit that utilizes. Oh, Ray's got it. That uses a little.
Hold on, a big bug flew in. Hold on.
This is the best thing, Well, we had Chassis John with us before he passed. Unfortunately, we talked about this at length, and we all know, anybody who's done any kind of engineering work knows a spring works much more linear and repeatable in compression than it does in tension. Mm-hmm. And we went through the whole thing, like, and nothing but good to say about that. It's like, where was that all these years?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird deal that just got, everything else in the automotive world has gotten cooler and fancier and more repeatable and more durable and prettier, but this is like a weird little thing. You see you go to these car shows and they got it hooked to the carburetor, and I've seen them hooked on to like the tail that sticks out of the hose clamp for the upper radiator hose, like,
we've all
it's just
seen
a weird thing, and it's one of those, well, that's just how we've always done it. And so we designed that, and that was really the start for us. And that was our first patent, which was pretty cool.
Right. Well, let me jump in real quick on that. The one I have that you sent me for my Cadillac,
mm-hmm.
I was moving it around when my buddies came over. He's old school dude, right? And he's like, "What's up with this? What is this?" I was like, "Oh man, this is the stuff, right? It is a spring." And I'm showing him. He's like, "I don't see how that works right." And he's a big car guy, and he's just so on beside his stuff. He's like, "Well, how does that work? That ain't gonna work." And I explained, I showed it to him and everything. He's like,
"Yeah,
that's pretty cool."
I just showed it to a buddy the other day when he came over, because I'm putting my car together, and he understands. He goes, "Wow, that's cool." I said, "That's not even the coolest part." I said, now, I have a drawer full of springs because you always mix and match springs, get the right feel. The best spring I thought I ever felt was GM used to use a double spring, a big soft spring with with the
inner.
And that was kind of cool because it did give you a pretty good feel. That was through the 70s. But I told him with this, it's a box full of springs in one unit because you have a collar on there that now you can tighten or loosen the tension on that spring.
Yeah.
And he was like, wow, what will it drive the car for you? I'm like, you would think so. With all the stuff it does, it is that much of an innovation.
Hey, I should put one on Peaches. Now I'm putting a car carburetor on there.
Yep.
I wonder if that'll work.
I'm sure we can come up. You know what? I can do a one-off for you. We'll figure it out.
Wow.
Email me some pictures, and then I'll tell you what dimensions I need, and I'll mill you a bracket.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd be looking fly.
Yeah, the web is a little different, but yeah, it could probably be done.
Yeah, I mean, everything can be done.
Whose idea was it to come up with that? They came up with this product. Who's the genius behind this?
That would be me.
Excellent. Kudos to you, because I thought that might have been the case, but it's always good to know for sure.
So, was there a need for it, or you just said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna make this"?
No. So, and the poor thing is just sitting in my garage, and I'll get into why we changed gears here a little bit. But I'm doing a Roadster, and it's mechanically finished. It's ready for body work, and but it's had to go on the back burner, and just everything I've done with this Roadster and the whole car was to compete for America's Most Beautiful Roadster at the Grand National Show. And everything on the car is one off. I built the entire chassis. It's torsion bar front and rear. The bars are hidden inside the frame.
Wow.
All the electrical, all the brake lines, all the fuel lines, everything runs inside the frame. And anyway, when we got up to that part, I wasn't going to hook a spring on there. So it went through several. I was going to try to put I started to put a spring over the throttle cable, like with two like washers, so same idea, right? So I'm compressing the spring basically, and that didn't work because the spring kept burp, like I couldn't control the spring.
Right.
And then I started to machine a tube inside of a tube. Mm-hmm. And the outer tube had a groove in it, and the inner tube had a little pecker that sticks up for lack of it. So I could keep the two tubes perfectly in line, and I was going to mount the spring on that. And then my kid's got a Traxxas RC car, and I'm looking at his RC car, and I'm like,
the springs.
That's what I need. I need a little coilover.
Yeah.
It holds the spring, keeps everything in line, and it's adjustable. So I got to give my kid, I guess, partial credit.
Yeah. So then how did you spec out the spring? Because I've had to do that as part of my job, spec out springs, and it's not for the light-hearted. I mean, there's a lot of information you need to know about springs. Trial
and error.
Okay, well, that works too.
Yeah, perfect. That's literally what I did was trial and error, and it's Century Spring is who I have dealt with.
Okay.
They were awesome. It's overwhelming to go through the list of springs because there's the outer diameter, the inner diameter, the number of active coils, the wire diameter, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at all this, and then, it gives you like the inch pounds and, like what the compression rate is and stuff. And I kind of had an idea like, I think I want, X, Y, or Z. And so I just ordered, a whole series of springs, kind of moving in. And it was just like, yep, this is the right one.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine's car was the guinea pig. And we decided on the one we decided on. And then we do a kit now for blowers, for 671 blower. And it takes the shock off the carburetors. And so what happens is all of these blower setups that have, the two carburetors that sit sideways up on top, they've got this bracket, this like 1/2 inch thick aluminum plate that mounts on the bottom at the base of the blower where the blower bolts down to the manifold, right? You got these, 4 studs on each side. So on the driver's side, there's this plate that mounts there, and they all have it. And BDS makes it, Enderly makes it, whatever, but they're literally all the same. And that plate has the bell crank, like kind of a little tower with a bearing, and you have the arm on one side that the throttle cable's pulling on, and then you've got an arm on the back side of that, and that's what's pulling down.
Right.
The linkage runs, up to the carburetors, and then you've got all this linkage up top.
Right.
So, and then at the back of that bracket, they all have the same 2 holes that are 1032. They're all in the same spot. I bought one from everybody and went, they're all the same. And those 2 little 1032 holes are where everybody makes like a little angle iron bracket or something that bolts down to hold their throttle cable. So we made a little billet bracket that bolts there, that holds the throttle cable and has the rear post for our shock. And then I had started off buying the little splined arm, for the linkage,
right,
from Enderly, and they quit making billet arms.
Oh wow.
And so I'm like, all right, well, they said, well, we have cast arms. Okay, send me a couple cast arms. I want to see them. And super unimpressed. And I said, well, when are you going to have more billet arms? Well, we don't have anything on the board to make any. So I'm assuming they had a ton of these cast arms made somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make any more billet arms until they burn through, a truckload of these other arms. So I said, okay, well, we're going to make our own billet arms then, because they're just not nice.
Right.
So, $800 brooch later, and which almost knocked me over. I mean, it's a little itty bitty spline, but the brooch to machine that spline, $800. That'll hurt feelings. Wow. So now we machine all that, and the spring rate for that is different.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long story to tell about. All the spring rates are the same for all of our carburetor kits. For the blower kit, we found, and I worked with Hilltopper's Speed Shop. They do a lot of big blower motors, but the guy there saw our kit when I first put it on the internet, and he's like, you got to send me one. And, and I said, well, I'll send you a prototype. And the spring was just a little light. And it's not because we got to close 2 carburetors, because if they're in line, I can close 2 carburetors with 1 spring.
Right.
But it was the weight of all the linkage. So when they're side saddle and you're pulling all this linkage, I have to push it all, not only the weight of the linkage, but I'm fighting the gravity. It's all got to push uphill. Yep. So back to Century Spring, and we got a heavier spring that's just specific for the blower kits.
Right.
So, and it's been awesome.
Excellent.
So, who is it? Alki Digger, out of Tennessee. They're Enderly's biggest. All they sell is blower stuff. And I can't keep them fed with enough of these blower kits.
Okay.
Wow.
So, nice. Been pretty cool.
Yeah. What you just had me thinking, what engine is in your project rod, in your street rod?
That's just a crate motor 350.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 420 horse. Mild.
Right.
It got shelved for now. We're building a C10 that is for my kid. It's a 72.
Nice.
It's on a Scott's Hot Rods chassis. This will not be his daily driver. This truck will go to SEMA. It'll go to the Grand National Roadster Show. And before everybody freaks out, it'll be a long time before he gets to take the keys and have all the buttons turned up. But it's a twin turbo LSX motor.
Cool.
It's a stock born stroke. I bought a brand new, GM LSX cast iron block. Callie's crank, Callie's rods, JE pistons, CNC ported trick flow. Here, you know what? Hold on one second.
Sounds like a monster.
Well, I've never had anything like this, so it's the shop. Let's see, how do I?
Oh yeah.
Woo. Sweet.
Yeah. So anyway, the Roadster's been put on hold a little bit, but to build this truck is, obviously good just to promote our business.
Yeah,
We do a lot of C10 stuff. We have more C10 stuff in the works right now. Some of it will debut next month, some of it towards the end of summer.
Yeah, that truck really took off in the aftermarket. I mean, you can't find one for a decent price anymore. It's just impossible.
It is insane.
And they were throwaways. It was just like an old farm truck, whatever. They're just throwaways, and now they're like the hottest things in sliced bread.
Now, will you have SEMA this year?
We're not going to do SEMA this year. We're going to go to Dino's Get Down, which is the same weekend.
Okay.
Dino's Get Down is in Arizona, and it's a C10 show.
Okay.
Last year it's at in Glendale, Arizona, the football stadium there. I can't think of the name of it right now, like State Farm Stadium, or where they just had the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
It is where the show is. Last year they had 5,000 trucks.
Wow.
So that's
yeah.
That's big target audience for me. So
yeah.
we'll be at Dino's this year. End of June, we're going to go to Salt Lake City, Utah for the C10 Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about that. And then in September, so we were at the Grand National Roadster Show in February this year, where they do America's Most Beautiful Roadster. In September, they're doing the Grand National Truck Show, and it's the first one this year, where they will crown America's Most Beautiful Truck. Wow. And one of our customers has a truck. It's called Lolita, and it's a kind of a burgundy and beige square body. His name's Ricky Hawley. He's won. It's got one of our Hideaway front ends on it. He's won. It was at SEMA this last year. He was in the top 15 for Builder's Choice, which is incredible. Yeah, with the caliber of stuff that's there. He won the Lone Star Throwdown. It's won everything it's been to. This truck it was built by Alamo Customs. I can't even fathom what the price tag was. But this truck is absolutely jaw-dropping. And he's in Texas somewhere, but he's going to be the truck's going to come out in September to compete for that title. So that'll be cool that we'll be there too, and I'll finally actually get to meet him in person, which would be cool.
Yeah.
And then at Dino's, his truck will be in our booth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I got to say that front end kit that you guys made definitely puts the truck over the top. I mean, it's really so cool. You look twice and you say, "Hey, wait a minute, what?" You know what you're looking at, but what am I looking at?
Right.
And that's the key of a good innovation, I think.
Yeah, we're finishing up the third. The third series of that. So our first one was the 69 to 72s, and which started with my kid's truck. That was like literally what we just, the truck that we're doing right now is what that front end got. I bought the truck, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. So we've had this truck sitting around for a while and just been collecting parts. And we do the 73 to 79 square bodies. So that's the single round headlight square bodies. And we're going to debut our 81 to 87 C10 kit at the C10 Nationals at the end of June. So I skipped over 1980 because it's a 1-year deal, and it was actually kind of a split year. Early 1980 was still single round headlight, so our kit will work. And the second half of 1980, it's a single square shaped headlight. Right. So we just sort of passed over that year because it's just not a big enough market. But yeah, the 81 to 87 is the two square headlights, one over the other. So I'm pretty excited about that new kit.
Nice.
So
Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's still kind of shocking to me. Like, it just keeps going. You know what I mean? Like, the business has grown, and the product line is, we're working on billet door handles right now, and like all kinds of stuff. And I don't know, super, just blessed.
Let me ask you this: have you been out somewhere and seen your grill go by?
Yes. Yeah.
How'd you feel about it?
Dude, that is like the coolest feeling ever.
Yeah.
Our stuff's been in magazines. It was, I don't know, 2 months ago now. It was on the cover of, I believe it's CK Truck Magazine. I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name. Kevin's, man, I feel bad right now. Anyway, Bump and Grind Auto is the shop that he owns. And he has it's a 1970, I believe, C10. Mm-hmm. They won the C10 of the Year award, the C10 Nationals C10 of the Year last year. One of our front ends on it, and it was on the cover of the magazine. And so that's all, all the magazine stuff's framed in the shop. And it's crazy. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, man, that
now, Dave, I know you told us this a couple of years ago. What were you doing before Hot Rod Innovations took off?
So my last real job, I was the prototyper for a company that did custom retail displays.
Okay. Yeah.
So all of Nike's stuff, all Coca-Cola, all their brands, all of Nike's divisions, HP Computer, huge list of companies that we did like custom in-store retail stuff for. And I would sit in on all the design meetings and sometimes have to bring the designers back down to earth, because just because you can draw it doesn't mean it's, it's not going to necessarily work.
Right.
But we'd sit in all these meetings, and then it was just me in the shop, and one half of the shop was all steel fab stuff, and the other half was all wood and plastics. And I would hand make whatever that prototype was so that we could show the client, and the client could, mess with it, touch it, try it out, whatever the case was. And then once they would sign off on it or want to make this change or that change, we go back, make the change, and then they sign off, and then it goes into production, at a facility capable of mass production.
It's kind of funny. When my younger daughter was in design school, she went to FIT. In the beginning point, she had to do a lot of foam board, models. So, I'm helping her out with it. We're attacking it like we're building real stuff. And she's like, well, what do we got to be so exact for? I said, you got to realize if this was a real deal in a company and you had to present this to somebody and they had to make it. I said, did you ever see Spinal Tap? Where they had to make the, what do you call it? The, what are the arches called over in England? Shit. Anyway, the guy wrote 12 inches on a piece of paper, supposed to be 12 feet. I said, one little mistake like that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And forget about it. The project is Stonehenge is what it was. And the project shot. I said, so you have to be accurate because you're going to give this to somebody to not only see and approve, and then they're going to make it. So you're working in scale, and she knew how to use an engineering scale, which was great. I said, your scale's got to be right. And, in the beginning, she really didn't pick up on that. And then she saw that, as we went along. And I said, a lot of people don't realize that. They don't know how something gets made or how it gets prototyped, but a lot of work that goes on.
A lot of work. And, so all of my background is automotive, fabrication, working at different hot rod shops. I've worked as a machinist. I've worked at, in a sheet metal job shop, basically. So I had all the background in being able to do all the car type stuff, I guess. Right. And I grew up with my dad building really cool, innovative hot rods, and he's had cars and magazines. And so I grew up with all that. But the part that really was cool for me working in the display industry was, and I was there for 10 years, was how much I didn't realize how much I didn't know about being able to run a company.
Oh, yeah.
Because stupid stuff like packaging and you know, how to display the product, and like that's all really important. And you know, these people spend millions of dollars a year researching and trial testing or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
How to get you to buy stuff at the grocery store, how to do, you know what I mean? Like to suck you into something.
It's true. I've done a bunch of focus groups, and some of them will like that. And you'll find I find myself in a store sometimes going over to look at something, and I'm like, why am I looking at this? Like, I don't want this, but it drew me in something. It was either a color or a shape or something, you know?
Yeah.
And you say, hey, and I go, hey, good for you guys. You got me to look at it. You know?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, just the contacts I made, like in the packaging, you know, doing packaging stuff for all these other companies.
Yeah.
When I needed to get, you know, have packaging done for our product, I knew who to call. I mean, I wouldn't have known any of that stuff because I'm a car guy, not a, I'm not a retail guy. So, but you have to be.
Yeah, we're never too old to learn if we're open to it.
Right.
And that's it. That's key. I've always found that's been key. You know, the day you stop learning is the day you stop breathing, you know.
Yeah.
And then you learn that you stop breathing. And that sucks.
Man, I've worked on projects where I learned a whole lot of ways to make it not right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's been wild. I mean, like you know, Lewis talked about seeing our stuff at a show, or it's weird almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. I'm like, hey, check that out.
Right.
But it's kind of weird. Like when we were at the Grand National show in Pomona in February, my kid goes to pretty much everything with us. He's 12. He's my guy. He can run the mill.
Oh, really? Cool.
Oh yeah. He's cool. You know, supervised. I don't just cut him loose, but he's learning how to weld. He can MIG weld fairly good. We're working on the TIG welding. But he does all these shows with me. He's my guy. Excellent. And so, you know, we had the booth all set up, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm going to go take off and go through some of the buildings. I'm like, have at it, you know?
Yeah.
So he comes back. He's all, you know, dad, come with me. So, okay. So my dad was there, and, you know, I have, you know, we have people that go with us and good friends that help work the booth and stuff. And he was so excited to drag me over to show me a truck with one of our front ends on it. And he's like, check it out. He's like, oh, we got to take a picture. So it was just, you know, it's cool, you know?
Yeah, it is. Well, it's good to know that the future of the company's in good hands already.
Yeah, he's actually going to become our design guy. I bought a subscription, I guess you'd call it, to Fusion 360, which is you know, for doing all the modeling on the computer and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's unbelievable at it already.
Wow.
Like, that's a hard program too, man.
Yeah. I mean, like he's already designed. He did his first thing was a Lego block, and he's spinning it. I mean, he's done a couple of glass bottles, a nut, you know, with all the threads in it. And like he found he's very crafty. He found a Learn Fusion 360 in 30 days thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, a different, you know, lesson every day or whatever to teach you how to use it. And he's like kick ass at it. And I'm like, you know, and then I said, dude, I'll pay you to do the design. I mean, I got to pay somebody. I just assume pay you. And he's all over it.
What are his strengths in school right now?
He has straight A's.
I mean, what are his strengths? Like, does he favor math, science, art, you know?
Math.
Okay, good.
There it is.
So for the back end, perfect. Yeah.
I was the same way. So so he's a pretty incredible. I mean, everyone thinks their kid's incredible. You know, you're supposed to.
But he's, you know, I know some of my friends know their kids really aren't. You know, let's face it, you can tell by what they're doing and who their friends are. But you know, I've had many conversations recently. I've had conversations with people in different areas. Actually, one of them was with a welder that I had done some work for me, and we were talking about. I brought it up to him because we did an industrial arts thing at the school that I had worked at before I retired, and people don't know how to measure. They have no concept of measurement. I mean, give a metric and they can figure that one out because it's pretty linear and straightforward. But when you talk about we've talked about it on this show, the American system is kind of convoluted.
Yep.
And if you can't, you got to be able to make those fractional changes and forget about going from fraction to decimal and back and forth again. People are lost in the ether.
Yep.
I mean, we've only been doing this 100 years, so I don't know. So that's good that he has that background. He'll get it.
Yeah, and he really enjoys it, and being in the shop and working on stuff, and his truck was a long bed when I bought it. It's now a short bed. Oh. So, and we shortened the bed sides ourselves, and he's there every step of the way, and
nice.
It's cool. Right. He's my best guy. That's my little dude. So
that's good.
We sponsor a sprint car. So I drove sprint cars for years, and the guy that got me, me and my parents, because they're the ones that were funding all that. Mm-hmm. That a friend of ours that got me all sucked into all that. He doesn't drive anymore. Obviously, neither do I. We're both way too old. But his son does. And so now we're helping them out. The business helps them out a little bit. And so we go to, my kid, oh my gosh, he loves it, which is a little scary because I can already see at some point we'll be back in that arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, keep him busy, keep him out of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, he loves, if I'm like, hey, we're going to the races, he is out the door. He's like, let's roll, let's go.
Right.
So it's cool.
Lewis, what's our tool man?
Let's see. Uh-oh. Yeah, we get the fellas in. We're at a little bit past the half-hour mark. We get
hey guys,
man.
Howdy.
Hey Dave, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging in there. I was you wait until you have to get hooked up with a die-cast company. And as you can see, This is M2 and this is C10. And being gold wheels, this is a chase piece. This is one of 750 out of 9,000.
Brian, is that a gold bumper on the back too?
Yeah, it's got a gold, but it's gold accents. But it would be really sweet if they had your front end on it.
Yes, it would.
I agree. Who do we talk to make that happen?
Well, like I said, you got to get your PR guys into a die-cast company, and even if you, I don't have a C10 and a Hot Wheels, but you start getting that in there because eventually somebody's going to see it on a real truck and make it for.
You know what? Wait a minute, a bug messing with me. Jada Toys.
Jada, yeah.
They make a lot of the custom vehicles.
What's the name of it?
Jada. I think is Jada.
Yeah, this is M2. Cast Line Incorporated. I'll send this to Lewis and he'll get it to you.
Okay.
But like I said, right now in the die-cast world, anything C10 is you cannot get it at the store. The secondary market is outrageous with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This was $20 at the store, and I was already offered $75 for it from another guy as I was walking out the store.
I'm in the wrong business, man.
And you wouldn't know, Dave, but Brian sells tools for a living, not die-cast cars.
Yeah, well, but like I said, I'm holding it because another guy wants it, but I want something of his, and I want to do a trade.
Okay.
But there's anything C10 is untouchable, and like I said, if you can get somebody to get your front end on it, you'll have something else on your booth that you could sell and make
a working front end.
Dude, there would be no living with me if there was a die cast with one of our front ends on it. My wife would have to make me move out. She'd be like, I can't deal with you anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know how that is because, like I said, I just, a small pile of just sitting around. So,
Yeah. Dub Magazine. I think they bought Jada Toys,
Oh, really?
and Miles. I think he sold the business. He had Dub Magazine. Let me do some checking. I might be able to find some info.
You're on Instagram, right?
Me?
Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I can message you the info. I mean, at least a number or a website, and you can start poking around.
I can send you his info also, Brian. I can send you Dave's info.
Yeah, because like I said, I think Stacey Davis did his Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
And he had and I know with the die cast, it's kind of funny because when they make a mold and they're doing something, they got to have X amount. But you've already got the most basic truck, like we were talking about. It's just nothing but a farm truck. You know what I'm saying? So
yep.
And you can even get into a lot of places. Will get into having I don't have one here, but Chip Foose. And that's Stacy's Rock right there. Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm
Foose.
working on something with Stacy right now. Actually,
are you?
Yeah.
And Jay Leno, and who's the other guy? Grease Monkey did couple with Hot Wheels, but they get tied in, and then like I said, there's no reason why you can't have your own truck, the trucks that you built, and you can have done.
Huh.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother market. Like I said, it's a very big market. So
yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm working on a little project with Stacy David right now that, well, I don't want to say any more just yet. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything, so I'm not going to say anything about what.
Let me pass you some of that Granddad's cough syrup, and we'll just loosen you up a little bit, and you start talking. Don't worry, nobody's watching. It's okay.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. I met him when we were at the Grand National Roadster Show, and he was walking through the building, and he caught one of our hideaway displays out of the corner of his eye, and stopped and came back, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is and so we were talking about how all that worked. He hung out for 45 minutes, and he was very interested in how all the mechanism worked and blah blah blah, and he's a really nice guy.
Yeah,
he is way bigger than I thought he was.
Really?
He's got to be 6'3" or 6'4".
Wow. Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
I didn't, I've only ever seen him on TV, so it's hard to gauge that. I mean, but man, you stand next to that guy. I felt little, I'm 5'10". I felt like a little kid, but he was a really nice guy, very genuine guy.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, he takes care of us here on the show. He does stuff for us too. Good dude.
He's a great dude.
Yep.
Great dude. He was there. He was in LMC's booth, I think was the, why he was, other than just walking around looking at cool cars. But I know he was signing autographs and stuff. He does a lot of stuff with LMC truck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool to meet him. And it was actually the first time that I had met a bunch of the people in person from LMC truck too, when we were down there. Cause we're doing business with LMC now, and it was email and phone calls and stuff. But I, unlike Summit, I didn't get the opportunity to go out and meet them in person. So that was kind of a neat thing. Mm-hmm. Actually put a face and to the names, and kind of cool.
Yep. So I'm gonna show you. I got something customized. You're gonna like this.
All right. What?
My dog decided to eat it.
Oh man!
No, turn to the front, Louis. Wow, look at that.
My favorite hat.
Man,
look at that.
That is frayed. Oh, geez.
My daughter.
I guess it tastes good, Dave.
Hey, my daughter was like, "Dad, I got something to tell you." I was like, "What?" ate your hat. My favorite hat. Now listen, I had two other hats that I hate sitting next to it. You know what I mean? My work hats. And he grabbed my favorite hat. Look at that.
Yep.
Well, you know what that means, right?
That means I got to send him another hat.
Yeah, well, that also meant that day that you were wearing that hat, you must have had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that dog was hungry
must
for
have
that peanut butter.
Or
Yeah,
pork
had it on the
chops or
grill.
ribs or something.
You ate
Well-
good that day wearing that hat. That's what that meant.
Here's the good news. I know a guy that can get you another hat.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? Dave gave me this hat at SEMA. He surprised me because he had another. There was another hat with a spark plug that I wear
Yep.
with the wings, right? And so I was like, man, I love this hat, and I got it from a guy that does embroidery at one of the shows like years ago. And you know, I wore the hat to death, right? So Dave surprised me with one of his hats and the one with the wings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'm a hat guy.
Me too. Yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
I'll get you a hat coming in the mail.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So what's going on with the GTO there, Ray?
It's in the works. I'm doing that fuel injection conversion. I went a couple steps forward and a few steps back last week where I had to take the gas tank out because I couldn't fit in the fuel pump and sender assembly. Same problem I had last time I did this. When I had my tank done years ago, I thought to the future. I said, boy, if I ever want to do fuel injection, I said, first of all, I want a drain in the bottom of the tank.
Yep.
Because, you know, this way you can, and hopefully the car will never sit long enough to need to use the drain in the bottom. But in the back wall of the tank, I had two bungs put in, one for a return line, and the other one, the guy put a bung in and a tube in the tank that would just come off the bottom of the floor that could be used as a pickup. And that dopey thing got in the way of the stock sending unit. So we had to bend the arm the other way. And now that I went to put the Holly stuff in, it's in the way again. So I brought the tank back to the guy and said, listen, take that thing out of there. So I haven't gotten it back yet. So no problem. Go to the front of the car. And, I'm doing the wiring. And I'm nuts about laying things out like harnesses and wires. It has to look right and pleasing to me. So I'm playing around still with, I have everything just kind of loose and floating and just trying to get it, locked down. But it'll go quick. It'll be, everything else will go well. I just put the finalized the distributor today, ran the wires. I tell you, that's a small cap and it's tough. A lot of times you used to on a GM, like an HEI cap, running wires through across the top of the cap between the posts. It's hard to do it on that cap, boy. That thing is tight. I went with their ignition. The what the hell does Sniper call it? They have a name for it, but it's the, I went with their distributor. Of course, Holly owns MSD.
Yep.
So it's the MSD distributor and control box. So now the timing will be all adjusted by the computer. I think it was the right way to go. So
Holly owns everybody at this point.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to a buddy who was with the company. Now he left, and he ran down a list of names that they bought. I'm like, wow, that's impressive.
I mean, they bought Detroit Speed. They bought, I believe, Comp Cams. Is that? I believe it's Comp Cams.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole list, of all top flight stuff.
Right. It's like somebody,
Yeah.
it's like someone didn't buy all the companies, but it's the scope of what they do, and the beauty of it is now it's all encompassing. So they have, plug and play stuff all in house. Yep. They can control it all, and they can make it right, and that's big.
Yeah, it's we're going to use their, I think it's called a Terminator X.
Yeah.
On the motor that's in this truck we're doing.
Right.
So, and it's crazy with that thing. I mean, because we're going to do traction control and, and it'll do all that stuff.
I'm looking into it because I actually was looking at pinouts on one of the connectors before I ended up buying this new harness. There's so much you can control with those.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. I mean, more stuff than anybody would ever want to do. They give you plenty of input output, IO stuff. It's, it's impressive. Really is.
Yeah, and lucky for me, there's a guy that I do a bunch of welding stuff for. He's got a shop up the street from us, and I think it's Fast Life Motorsports, and all they do is turbo LS stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like drag racing, this guy, and he's been to the Holly's like week-long school on the, those controllers. And this guy he's a younger guy, sharp as a tack. I mean, he knows everything there was to know about those units and wiring, all that stuff, because I look at that and just go, it's too much for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just watching. There's a ton of really good YouTube videos, and a lot of them by Holly, but some from other places.
Yeah.
Shops. I was watching one guy today, and he was talking about the Terminator X, and he said, because it looks like a 4150 Holly, it looks just like a carburetor. Well, it may not be a Terminator, maybe one of the other ones, and he says, this thing looks just like a carburetor. He says, but I'll tell you something. I don't know anything about it. So he's obviously a younger guy. He says, but this thing I can tell you about. And he was going into the parameters and all. And I said, wow, it's quite impressive.
Yeah. We actually just put one of those sniper units that looks like a carburetor on my buddy's El Camino. It's a 496 big block.
Oh, yeah.
And man, it's awesome.
The thing I've learned that I knew it, but I always relearn it. Guys, especially as they get older, don't read anything. The instructions, they don't read, and they don't do research into what they're doing. And case in point, the guy, I got my snipers used. I'm using two of them, and the guy had a 55 Chevy, old school guy, and I think I know what he had on the car originally, but I'm not 100% sure. Puts dual snipers on this thing and runs it. Drives it 50 miles, doesn't like it. And I don't know what that meant, doesn't like it, but he takes them off. He takes off the dual quad intake. He puts a single quad intake on, buys a single sniper, and puts that on. Drives it, doesn't like it, takes that off. What does he go back to? A tunnel ram with dual 2780 Hollies on it. What he knows is what he going back to.
Right.
So the fellow that was telling me the story, I said to him, well, what did he do with all those snipers? He says, well, I took the single sniper. I'll use it on something. I said, what did he do with the duals? He says, he still got them as far as I know. So I already had dual quads on my Pontiac. I said, I want them. And that's how I got them, and then just had to get all the auxiliary stuff. But then talking to the guys at Holly, I'm finding out that this guy probably had an older MSD unit on the car that he still used. And they were telling me, that's the number. Well, that's the number 2 biggest mistake guys make. The older MSDs are not a true digital signal. It's more of an analog signal that's very dirty, and if you could look at it on a scope, you would see, and it interferes with the ECU on the sniper. It doesn't plug and play. Number 1, the biggest thing is not using clean battery connections or relays to power up. And they emphatically stress it all through the instructions.
Yeah.
But you know what? We don't read those. So
right.
And one of the harnesses that I had, he had it rolled up with tape. I'm like, I thought it was garbage. The back page of their book shows you all the things not to do electrically, and it's using different taps, T-taps and Scotch lock taps, and bad wire connectors and all this crap. And what did he do? He had his power wires put together, twisted, laid over, and black taped. It was like, dude, you did like everything wrong. No wonder your car didn't run right.
Right.
And he's out there bad mouthing Holly, I'm sure. So.
Well, I can tell you the other thing that we learned kind of by accident with that Holly sniper deal that is majorly important. So when my buddy put all this together, he had bought for the O2 sensor he's going to cut it all away and weld on the bung now. But I guess they sell some sort of yes. What he had on it was to get it running like a saddle looking thing that clamps on.
I have the same one. Yes.
Okay. And when he had the car towed over to our shop, and we were going to get it, lit off or whatever. So we got it lit off, and it was just pig rich, like rich. And I mean, you smell it, the smokes, black smoke or whatever. But the computer, the little handheld, was showing lean. And what is going on? We couldn't figure out. And then he goes, "Oh my gosh, hold on!" And he jacks up the car. It was just sort of like finger tight, essentially. That the saddle for the O2 sensor,
right?
As soon as he cranked it down tight, all the problems went away.
He was letting air in.
Yeah. So the computer is reading lean,
right?
And so it's dumping,
it's maxing out the fuel trim. This goes into the diagnostics that we talk about all the time with regular cars. Brian and I talk about this all the time. And just as a side story, I have a car, a Mazda that I need a cat. So it kept throwing a check engine light. I need to pass inspection. So I put an O2 spacer in it. And now it's out of the stream, so it doesn't throw a light. I get inspected. But I had cause to scan the car for another issue. And what comes up but an O2 code, and I'm looking at live data and seeing 0 volts. So most people, would go and change the O2 sensor, saying we got a bad O2 sensor. No, I know I got 0 volts because I have it out of the exhaust stream. It's just not reading.
Right.
So again, knowing how to interpret the data is another thing that a lot of guys on the street just don't get the hang of, and it's so important.
Well, then the unfortunate part is people end up spending a ton of money throwing parts at something because they don't
shooting the parts cannon. Yeah, I was just talking to someone about the O2 sensors, and they were saying, "Oh no, you know what? It might have been Terry. We were talking about this, Terry, about the placement of the O2 sensor in the collector. I think Holly says 4 to 6 inches away from where the pipes converge. Mm-hmm. So where the pipes converge is the beginning of the collector, and then you have the rest of your collector to the flange. So I'm thinking that 4 to 6 inches is going to be right by the flange. And I don't know what guys do. What Shorty had is, I guess they have to go into the actual pipe after the flange. So,
well, it depends because my Trailblazer SS, it came with upstream and downstream, 2 upstream, 2 downstream. Once I got the blower on there and everything like that, I got rid of the upstream ones and used the downstream ones. So you could tune it like that. But you're right. Any small amount of air that comes in could just throw everything off.
It's the same thing as having guys will get PO 420 codes. You'll have the corrugated air intake that goes from the air box over to your mass airflow or whatever. And I had one on my car. It was split. And it was throwing all sorts of things. It was trying to add fuel like crazy. I literally put my hand in it. It was just, from age, it just split.
Right.
It's like, you have to kind of be able to flesh out, okay, why is it doing what it's doing? It's doing this because it's looking for this and doesn't see it.
Right.
And, so again,
and the sad part is, like you said, the dealership, they'll just throw parts at it. And if the part is good, right, like your old part is still good, they're not going to go and put that old part back on. They're going to charge you for a new part that you don't need. The parts cannon, you called it.
Well, that was, that's the biggest problem, and that's just because the dealership and independents now, I see it every day, is that they pay the guys absolutely nothing, and they're charging so much. They've already fudge factored how much they're going to eat. If it takes 2 or 3 parts to get the car finally fixed, but they've made up so much, and especially like you said, they're going to sell it anyway. It's very rare that they're going to take it off. You're going to find a few guys that will take it off and put the old part back on.
Right.
But that they've made money and they don't have. That's why I left the dealership. That was the end result for me, because I was so fed up that they hired this guy, and car comes in, he puts 4 O2 sensors on the car. And, of course, meanwhile, they're saying, hey, I watched a new guy, and I said, well, I'm not here to babysit, but I go over and say, hey, dude, what's going on? 4 O2 sensors is not going to fix the car. And he goes, oh, well, that's what they tell us at school, and they're all bad. And of course, 5 o'clock, he's walking out the door, and the car's coming back in, and the service director is like, "Man, you got to fix this car. This guy's pissed off." And we put 402 sensors.
Right.
And so I get the scanner out, explain what was going on, and it needed a hot wire, mass airflow sensor, and a new air filter. And so I get the car all done. They let the car go. And my girlfriend, which is now my wife, she was in warranty. And I said, "Hey, when this car comes across, you let me know what they did with this." And they in-housed it. They paid the guy. They ate all the parts. And that, like I said, that just threw me over the edge. I told them, went in there and said, "I don't want to ever hear that you guys don't make money."
So you mean you got yourself a girlfriend that came with a warranty?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. How'd you do that?
Yeah.
Nice.
She was.
I didn't read my directions. I didn't get no warranty.
Yeah, yeah. She was. She did a night cashier, and she helped out in the warranty clerk department. So
At this point, I'm thinking my wife wished I had the warranty.
Yeah,
Right?
that's the fact too. That's very
Brian's
true
wife,
on that.
Like all of us might have been saying, why did I ever have to go work at a dealership? Jeez, I could have worked in an office.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, have you ever met Terry?
No, I have not.
All right, this is Coverman 66. He's a world famous YouTuber.
Oh, I've seen him, but we've never met.
Yeah, he's like one of those phenom guys on YouTube, you know.
Yes.
Get out of here. What's up, Dave, man? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I see you guys hanging out together. Got my man Ray. Got Brian, I guess. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Just hanging out.
Just hanging out, you know. Lewis was telling me you do C10s.
Yeah, we make a line of parts for C10s.
Well, me and Lewis. Well, I got one. I got the GMC. I got which I think is the prettier truck, the 4 headlights, 67.
Okay.
And yeah, so we might be coming to you. Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen the hideaway headlight deal on the C10s.
I did see that.
That's
see
us.
that. Now, yeah, that's not
Smith
well. That wouldn't work with the 4 headlights though, unless you have something like that.
Right. Yeah, I know. See, the problem, because I've been asked, a bunch of times, do you make one for the GMC stuff? But the whole point of the GMC stuff and what everybody loves about the GMC stuff is the fact that it's got the dual headlights, on each side.
I agree.
So covering it up, I mean, at that point, everything on the front end is the same. And to do, I tell everybody, if you want the hideaway deal, because you have to cut the core support anyway in our kit, because there's sheet metal pans, comes with templates, mark out the square, cut it out of the core support. And then we have sheet metal pans that bolt in. And that's what the motor assemblies bolt into. And that's because I needed the motors and the doors to sit farther back than I can get, just mounting them to the core support. And I need a pocket for the door to fall back into when they open. So
there was a truck at SEMA, I think it was, that had that setup.
Yeah.
That was he was talking about it.
Ricky Hawley's truck, Lolita.
Now,
the name of the truck's Lolita.
Yeah, it was a pretty truck, and I was like, "Oh man, he's got some hideaway headlights. I kind of like that." But now, does your lights, do they go up or down, or do they go like this?
They go in like a 69 Camaro.
Yeah, because right, exactly. Okay.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Because I saw that, I was like, "That looks good."
that truck is bad to the bone.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, that is
you
absolutely
could look at
beautiful
that truck all day long, and you never will get everything that this guy did to that truck. I mean, that truck is just, unbelievable.
It is stunning for sure. And it's funny too. And like my dad and I talk about it, and then Jason, guy that works with us, that I've known since 5th grade. One of the cool things about doing what we do and being around all the hot rods and stuff is like paint combinations. Because I'm like, it's it's red or it's blue or whatever. But you see some of these combinations that I, in a million years, would not have gone into the paint store and went this color and this color, right? Because like my brain just can't. I can't see that that's going to be really cool. And then you see it, you know, these different color combinations on cars, and you're just like, it just knocks your socks off. And
the cool thing is it's not like a faddish color. These colors are like they're. I mean, like I'll give you a perfect example. Kevin Tetz, he had a truck called C10. I don't know if you saw it. It's a beautiful truck. He had his engine, and it was a C10. And when I went to the shop, and to see it on TV, that's all well and cool. But when you're actually sitting there, I was at a shop and I'm sitting there looking at this truck, and me and Derek Vieri, we were looking at this truck, and we both agreed with like, this isn't a color that you would go and say, oh my God, I'm going to have this color, but it looked good.
Yep.
It was a cross between like coffee and pea soup. It was like a greenish, it had like beige to it. I never ever, there's no way I would have been like, I got to get this for my truck. But he put that along with some brown with it and everything like that, made like a two-tone and had a design on it. That truck was tight.
Yep.
And it just goes to show you got to have open mind, because me, I mean, I like the I'm more of an orangey brownish type of guy. I like, like earth tones.
Yep.
And but like these guys are, going out the box and like, hey, let's throw a mauve with a gray stripe on it. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
But then it comes out the booth and it looks great.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's stuff that I never would have picked. I mean, like the colors on that Lolita truck, they're beautiful, and that's those colors aren't as like, I guess, out there for me as like the guy we were talking earlier. I can't remember his last name. His name's Kevin, and he owns Bump and Grind Auto, and they have a 70, I believe, C10 that won the C10 Nationals Truck of the Year last year, and it's got one of our front ends, and it's kind of a, maybe I can find it. Hold on. It's kind of a like it's a two-tone deal. And it's a green. Hold on, I know I got a picture.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the colors, the things that jumped at me in the last few years was a guy would have.
I don't know if you can see that.
Okay. You can see some green. Yeah. Okay.
It's it's like a green and a kind of a beigey off-white, and it's two colors I never would have put together. And that truck is like, it's bad to the bone.
The thing that's been getting my attention is a guy will have, say, some tone of silver, like a maybe like a gunmetal or whatever. Maybe it's a two-tone silver, and then they'll do the pinstripes in like red, like lime green and bright orange, and you say until you see it, and you say, wow, that pops unbelievably. I was always I couldn't see that until I saw it, and now that I saw it, I know that. A lot of times you got to look at the color wheel, and you got to look at the opposite sides of the color wheel, and those colors will all play with each other if they're done the right way.
The manufacturer that's really good at that are the Germans.
Okay.
Yeah. When you look at some of the newer Porsches and Audis and stuff like that, even back in the day when I worked on them, some of the stuff came through, and you're like, oh my God. But then when you really looked at it, when you started mixing blues and greens and yellows and stuff, you're like, holy cow, that's what made them stand out. Or
they were pretty good at rollover tests too, Brian.
Oh, I know. There's nothing like watching an old Mercedes or Volkswagen crash dummy test, man. Back in the 50s, they used real people. That must have been one hell of a job. Can you imagine saying, we're hiring you and your family? Hey. Some of the Mercedes has their kids in there.
You know who it is? It's the kids, the nephews that you don't like.
Yeah.
Hey, get in this car real quick.
I know, but I mean, all you gotta do is Google on YouTube, crash test dummies, German ones, and I tell you one thing: they'll throw a family in a Mercedes and go down the road with a half ramp and barrel roll a car down the road, and it's funny watching them all get out, clean themselves off, and be amazed. But
But I think another thing is that when you're painting a car, you you spend like $20,000-$30,000. You want to make sure it's the right color. You don't want to be like, let's try this color. You know, like you want to be like, okay, I want to guarantee I'm going to like this color.
Well,
you know,
the Ring brothers, they get a lot of people saying, "I trust you. Paint it the color you want to paint it, and I'll pick it up."
Yeah.
Now that's some trust.
Yes, it is.
That kind of happened to me, Terry, when I had my car painted. I realized it's an A body. So back in the day, that was an intermediate sized car. That was, not, but now today that car's pretty big.
It's a big car.
And I'm
metal.
saying, boy, in one color, it actually made me say, wow, now I can see why people put black vinyl roofs on cars like this to break up that color. And I'm saying, wow, should I paint my roof black? It's like, and I didn't,
Hard top. Keep it a hard top.
Yeah.
So a real good friend of mine, Curtis Acosta, his dad was a famous painter in the 70s and 80s. He's in the Grand National Roadshow Show Hall of Fame. Curtis, his son, is a painter. He did my Harley. And he's one of those guys that's really good with like color combinations and stuff. And I remember asking him one time, like, how do you know like what colors will go together? And he, like, one of this was kind of cool. He said, a good starting point for him, and this sounds funny, fruit, tropical fish, tropical birds.
Good. Yeah.
Like,
look at all those colors. Yeah.
Yes. He said, like, you look at any tropical fish that's like, these crazy weird colors, it looks right on that fish.
Yeah.
You can put those colors. He said nature has done the greatest job ever putting cool colors together.
Very true.
That makes sense.
I like that.
And the birds especially. Look at some of those birds, the blues, yellows and blues together, and the reds. Oh my God, phenomenal!
Yep.
Yeah.
You ever see what's the duck? Not the mallard. The what is it? Is the mallard's brown or the green and white and which one is that?
Teal.
That's the
teal.
Yeah, it's like a teal.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful bird, man. And even if you look at a crow isn't exactly black. It's almost bluish black. If you look at them, I was sitting there looking at one, I guess maybe like 3 weeks ago, like my son's at the bus stop. I'm just sitting there, I was like, that's a pretty bird. It's got a little bit of purple and everything like that. It's not completely black, but if you look at it, if he stands there and lets you look at it, there's a lot of colors in that crow.
Yep. So ever since he told me that about nature is good at putting colors together, I was like, man, like it's true. Yeah. It totally works out.
Yeah. Here on the Aviary Show, I noticed I got these bluebirds that fly around outside and they make a lot of noise. They're beautiful birds, but they're nasty.
They're the nasty birds. The blue jays
are nasty, but they are good.
It's like a chainsaw.
Yeah. Yeah. But phenomenal colors. Oh, geez. Yeah.
And
listen, that's why koi have been a mainstay Japanese standard tattoo for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, because the koi have some of the most beautiful, color patterns and palettes.
Yep.
You're right, Dave. That's exactly right.
I've been racking my brain to see what stripes I want to put on the bus or something, a small color on the bus, because I'm going with the sun-kissed orange. And I was thinking maybe gunmetal gray, some stripes with that, and maybe
it's just the opposite. You could do the lime green. You could do just the opposite is when you have gray. Like I said, I saw the orange and green on gray. You could put the gray or the green on the orange.
Mm-hmm. Well, you put a little hot pink in there and show a little leg, Lewis.
There you go.
That's a little more 80s. Yeah.
Well, it depends. What type of stripe are you going to put inside that bus?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I was going to go with the gunmetal gray, but then I was thinking maybe a off color pinstripe on that. You know what I mean? Like Ray was saying.
What kind of design are you thinking though?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm
Stay away from the A-team.
Yeah. I have no clue.
Put a Mopar stripe around the back.
Yeah.
That's a lot of real estate.
There's a lot of real estate.
I think I'm gonna put my wife like.
There he is looking.
She likes owls, so I might do a
Hooters emblem.
No, not Hooters.
Oh,
I might do like the
Brian.
back half. You trying to get me in trouble? Hey, you know what? The color is going to be the Hooter short.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You might as well call them up and have some advertisement thrown your way.
Yeah, I might get a
Get
couple
some money
dollars
from them.
Hey, I'll be good with just the wings. Just send me wings every week.
Hey, I'm telling you, Ray already knows this. Every time I get on the internet, it's nothing but redheads and a healthy chest pops up. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I'm sorry, guys.
So, funny story about Hooters. What year was that? 2018, 2019? I don't know. Shortly after we got started, with the parts thing, and it was the throttle kits that we started with. I did a couple episodes of, oh my gosh, Motorhead Garage.
Yeah.
On TV, right? With John. Holy crap! Now I feel like an idiot. Anyway, John Gardner, is that right? Yeah.
Gardner.
Right, John Gardner, yeah.
Jim. No, John.
So,
John.
Yeah. So they filmed that in Tennessee. The studio's actually at the on the Borla Exhaust campus.
Okay.
Is where they have their studio, right? So my son and I, just the two of us, we flew out there to go film that. And he was, I don't know, 8 years old or something at the time. So we went up a day early and went to Dollywood, and it was all super cool, right? It was like just boys trip, right? We were hanging out, and I took him to a Hooters, and somewhere on my phone I have a picture of him at the table, and he's like this, and he's staring off into. It looks like he's staring off into space. But if you were sitting there like I was, you could see what he was staring at, and I was like,
in love.
"That's my boy."
Yeah,
I was like, "That's all right, buddy."
There we go.
That was. I don't know if that makes me a terrible dad or a great dad, but
Well, these days it make you a great dad because he could have been looking at a guy.
Well,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So he trained him early.
yeah.
You just gotta make sure that Hooters pants are on the right way, though. That's you still got to watch out what you're looking at.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna play around. Now that you said that, I'm gonna look at some fish and stuff to see if I can catch a color. That's a good idea.
So I'll tell you, I didn't do fish, but I did do. I did paint my bike a color years ago that had people saying, "What the hell is he doing?" And that was that doesn't even really show the depth of it. It was like Nidix grape soda purple. And I said, "What am I going to do the flames in?" And I came up with this Aztec gold.
Yeah.
And
that works, Ray. I like that.
And
that looks bitchin'.
And I thought it was really good. It just, and people like, "Oh God, purple. What is it? A Barney's motorcycle?"
Was that a Honda?
No, it's not a Honda. No, let me see. I don't know if I have a full. Let's see. Now I got a picture of the motor here. No, it was a Super Glide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's a nice combo, man. I like that color.
Yeah, and I had my, my thing is black wrinkle and fins. I love it. I just got a set of MT valve covers at the Rhinebeck swap meet. Gonna be black wrinkle and highlighted fins. That's, because then any little bit of chrome you put on there really pops. So
yeah,
you still have it?
No, I sold it. Actually, that bike went to Ohio, Lewis. I sold it to a guy who took it back to Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Years ago.
Must have been a great guy.
Lewis, you talked about, like the Ring brothers have people come and say, "Hey, I trust you, just do whatever," right? Mm-hmm. My buddy Curtis, that does the paint, that's the one that told me look at stuff in nature. He did my Harley, and it's a bagger and it's black, and we did flames on it, and it's a traditional looking, hot rod flame, but the color of the flames is it's like real fire. They airbrush like the real fire. So it's the real fire, but, with inside of the shape of like a traditional hot rod flame, right? Mm-hmm. And then we got to, and he did a phenomenal job. And then we got to where he was going to stripe everything. And he called me and literally said, "Hey, you trust me, right?" So, yeah. because we had talked about, if we're gonna do it in orange or a purple or what are we gonna? And he goes, seafoam green.
Wow.
And I said,
what?
He goes, if you don't like it, well, I'll just redo it. All right, go for it. I don't think I have a picture on my phone, dude. Bad to the bone.
Yeah.
It is killer looking. But yeah, seafoam green.
I tell you, when you throw those other colors in, it really, you say it, but you can't see it. But once you see it, you know it.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, he's big on if you're spraying a candy, because it's a whole bunch of different, shades and colors of these different candies, right? To do the real fire. He said, whenever you're spraying a candy, stripe it in a pastel.
Okay.
And it just goes, and it really, really, like, I was shocked again, right? Colors I never would have put together.
Sure.
Right.
But yeah, his brain works different than mine, with the color stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my you trust me with the paint story.
You got to go. You got to go with those guys. You got to let them do what they got to do.
Yeah. Well, that's his arena. Right. So yeah, that was cool.
I might have to go out to my buddy Guy Shively. He's a pinstriper, and he does crazy stuff like that too. And he'll know what. Yeah, I'm gonna take it out to him. He'll show me what to go with.
Yeah. Yeah, but I dig the fact that you're doing that thing in orange, like in
it's Summit Racing Sunkiss Orange.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it has pearl in it. It's really nice. I seen what car was it? I want to say it was might have been a Jeep SUV. It's a funny color orange, but it's really nice. Got a nice pearl to it.
So how much paint does it take?
3 gallons.
Really?
Wow, really?
Yeah. Arco, my buddy Arco gave me the breakdown of it. So he knows the stuff. So he's like, you need 3 gallons, you need this. Okay, I order it.
Wow, I would have guessed more.
I would have guessed less.
Really?
Especially with HLVP, yeah. I don't know, but
I was thinking it's going to take about 4 or 5.
Me too.
It's a motorcycle. It's a motorcycle.
Yeah,
that's a lot of real estate.
Yeah, I'm gonna be running up and down. Believe me.
I tell you, it's going to be a lot of real estate.
Well, my brother has some scaffolding, so I'm gonna line up scaffolding on one side. So
I was gonna say something like that. You're gonna have to get one of those booms that you have to, like the construction we have to lift up.
Yeah. I was actually wondering, how do you do the roof?
Well, I'll do the roof separate. The roof will be painted white.
You're talking about the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking motorcycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I would have thought more too.
So the roof would be white, with a sealed up white, so it'll keep it cooler and warmer in the winter.
Okay.
So from like the top half be white, but the rest of it be orange and then whatever stripes I put on.
But I mean, how do you get over the roof to paint it?
Oh, you stand on it and I'll roll the roof.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll roll the roof because it's a thicker paint. It's a waterproof, so seal all the seams and rivets and everything up there. Yeah. It's an RV paint.
Yeah, driving down the street in a big creamsicle.
Yep, that's what I'm look like. Yep. With a funny color stripe, whatever I go with.
We'll just get you up in the tree, hang you in a tree, and we'll just swing you, and you just back and forth, be like a TikTok.
Lebowski, where she kind of swung through the hall, painting with the oil paints. Remember that scene?
I need a big tree now because I raised her up. She's high.
Yeah.
Wonderful job.
Yeah, close to I think it's 11.6.
Wow. You wouldn't fit under a lot of the bridges here on Long Island, I tell you that.
I know. I was out there with my semi and got caught going down that expressway. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I should be here.
Some of them are like 10.9 or 11.0. Yeah.
Huh. That's a perfect way to airbag it or airbag it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Or make it convertible.
Right. It happens all the time.
I tried to tell Tyler, we went to visit Terry, and we went to pick up his bus. He bought a MCI tour bus, and he's doing the same thing I'm doing, but he's converting it. And so we get on the Turnpike, and it says after the sign is after you get on the Turnpike, it says no commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I was like, man, we gotta get off this. And Tyler's like, oh, we'll just go. I was like, man, listen, if we get caught down here, we can't back up. You know what I mean? The police, man, that's a big fine, dude. If you get caught on there, man, they're gonna hammer us.
Right.
And he really wasn't believing me. I'm like, Tyler, man, we gotta get off this thing. So then we get off in a bad neighborhood. We get off at Newark, and we're lost in his neighborhood. I'm like, man, we gotta get out of here. It's getting dark. He's like, why are you so worried? I'm like, listen, when you see bars on the windows and liquor stores, it's time to get up out of here.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, we're okay. I'm like, look, bro, we got to get out of here.
Oh, it's so sweet how innocent he is.
Oh, he is. I'm like, man, this ain't good.
We're not in Ohio anymore. There's no tell me not in Ohio anymore. There's no constitutional carry in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you get caught with a hollow point bullet, that's a felony.
Yeah. I was just talking to a buddy of mine, the guy I bought the ammo from, and he was telling me that there's a company is coming out with a bullet that will be legal to carry through Jersey.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't have any more info on it yet. He said he'll let me know when he finds out.
Listen, you don't even have to have a gun. If they find a bullet in your car,
yeah,
felony.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a gun, just a bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't play. He wasn't hearing me. I was like, bro, we don't want to get caught here, man.
Justin's asking, didn't you get stopped by a cop on that trip, Lewis?
No. We got off before they got us, man. But if they would have seen us, I'm telling you, they would have hit us with some fines, man. We'd have been jammed up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, the only time I ever had that on the Turnpike when we used to go to school up that way for Porsche school. And the guy that went before me, he's like, oh, yeah, because, they pay us, for the tolls and everything, to go up there. And he's like, oh, man, take this shortcut and it saves you money so then you have drinking money, And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll try that. So I get up there, get off the Turnpike to cut through, and I get off on and up there in Elizabeth and East Orange and all that stuff, And I'm like, you gotta understand, this is a white dude and a black 5.0 about midnight. You know what I'm saying? It's like midnight. And I'm creeping through the neighborhood, and I can see. I'm like, I'm in the wrong place, man. I gotta get out of here. And I can see the Turnpike, but I couldn't get back on. So I'm following through this neighborhood, and I mean, it's just all kinds of stuff is going on. There's a rolled over car. There's people. I mean, it's just incredible,
Fires, car fires.
Oh yeah, and I'm like cruising along, and I made a wrong turn. I was going the wrong way on the road.
You did all right, yeah.
And because I was like, I got to get back on the Turnpike, and so I'm coming along, and all of a sudden, when I made the wrong turn or facing the wrong way, there's a cop sitting down there. So he turns on the lights, and he comes up, and it's a cop comes up, and I pull over. And I said, man, I'm glad to see you. And he goes, I bet you are. he goes, what in the F are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm lost. And he said, no shit. A white guy and a 5.0 at midnight with Maryland tags in the wrong state. And I said, look, I got off the Turnpike. I need to get back on the Turnpike. And he's like, look, keep going the way you're going, and you're going to see two trees that open up. And he said, just drive right on off, and you'll come right out onto the Turnpike. I said, thank you. Well, I wasn't thinking. So, of course, I jumped out, got back on the Turnpike. Man, I'm hitting it up the road. And I get to the toll booth. I don't have a ticket.
Oh, yeah. because you didn't get on.
I didn't get on through a ticket,
Right.
and of course, when I got off, I laid my ticket out. Right.
Paid a whole.
So the guy goes. Of course, this is like 2 a.m, you know, and the guy's like, "Where's your ticket?" I don't have one. He goes, "Well, how did you get on the turnpike?" Well, I cut in between. Oh, Jesus. You know, I'm like, he's like, "All right, buddy, pull it on over there."
Yeah.
And then the state guy comes out. They go through the car. They're tearing the car apart. They're looking. I'm telling the story. So, needless to say, I had to pay double.
Yeah, the whole length.
Yeah, I had to pay double the fine on the turnpike. So I do the school. I get back. Of course, I submit my receipts, and they're like, "Why is your receipts doubled?"
$480.
And I'm like, "Well, I lost." I goes, "Well, I had this problem. That's not our problem. We paid so much for having extra money to drink beer, you know." And
Yep.
that was like,
so much
cannot cheat the system, you know.
So much for listening to your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't have any of that like turnpikes or anything out here.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Where are you, Dave?
Northern California.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some of the areas you guys were just describing, that there's some areas that, like in the Bay Area, that
Oh yeah, you got that for sure. Yeah.
Oakland, San Francisco.
Right.
Well, you're already paying enough, so you don't need toll roads. So
Right.
It's insane here. Like the price of everything is just nuts.
I'm downstate. I'm on Long Island, and just last weekend I went up to Rhinebeck to the car show, which is upstate above Terry.
You drove right past my house, Ray.
Yeah, we took the Taconic. We went up on the Taconic.
Oh, okay. Okay, then I feel better. Because if you
Stopped
passed
at
by
the
my
Daily
house and then
Planet.
stop off, man.
Well, stopped at the Daily Planet, and boy, we came in the Ever Ready later. But
Hey Ray, Terry will feed you too.
oh, okay, that's
milk
cool.
and cookies.
And I was with another drummer too, so I had
We had a jam session. Yeah, all
good
it was downstairs.
But we noticed how much cheaper it is to eat when you start going north. Like, man, we're getting killed down here.
Houses too, everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey Ray, I got a question.
What do you got, Lewis?
I'm going to jump off in a little bit, and I was thinking about if I end the broadcast, will that cut everybody off, or will you guys stay on?
We've never tried that.
Because I've been editing videos, and you guys stay on 3-4 hours, man.
We do stay on for 3 hours.
I'm like, oh my God.
The last time you did that, Lewis, when it was just me and Isaac, we stayed on until midnight.
Oh, did you? Okay. All right, sounds good.
Well,
so listen,
I could end it too. Well, I'll tell you this, just so you know, if you ever want a couple laughs,
Best part's the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, watch the last half hour of that 3 hour, 4 hour thing. You'll get some laughs.
Yeah.
Because we're getting punchy. Everybody's hungry. We want to go make food and
tired.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Well, hey Dave, I'm gonna jump off here because I got to be an adult in the morning.
Yeah, well, me too.
Same here.
A dirty 4-letter word.
Yeah. So hey, I always appreciate you coming on, and you're always welcome. Anytime you want to show something or promote, please come over and
thank you, sir.
Hang out.
I appreciate it very, very much.
And Dave, we're looking forward to having you on Motormouth Radio in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So not
25th.
not this Sunday because it's Mother's Day.
Right. The 21st.
That's right.
Yeah.
The following week. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm going to head off as well because I got to get something to eat myself.
All right.
I walked in the house.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Dave, it's a
everybody
pleasure.
have a good
I
week.
appreciate it very much. You all have a good night.
All right.
All right.
Take care, Dave. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you guys.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna hit this button, Ray, and see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what goes on here. Okay, I didn't see any change on this end.